All right, one thing we really want to kind of just discuss about right now is the problem with DC superhero movies, the problem with Marvel superhero movies, because a lot of people just don't understand you can't make it exactly like the comic. And Eric, what do you think a major problem is right now?
Major problem, Warner Brothers interference or movie studio interference. We're hearing a lot of issues with the studio interfering and telling directors you gotta make a new cut, you gotta cut story elements out, you gotta input more action. One major issue with the movie studios: stop thinking your audience is stupid. Big issue. Okay, just stop making the assumption that people just want to see 2 hours of action. You gotta have story in there, otherwise the movie's just gonna be a convoluted mess and just a bunch of crap thrown in for what do they call disaster porn? Michael Bay disaster porn. Not every movie has to be disaster porn. Okay, people can understand story elements. All right, let's try to make some smarter movies here.
What do you mean by just because Michael Bay movies are mostly explosions? Is that like another issue?
Don't get me wrong. I enjoy action, but the story's got to make sense. You got to have some kind of story in there to explain why the action is happening. One thing I hate to say it, but DC did not put in the work. They did not put in the time. They did not set up audience for. They didn't set up an audience for Wonder Woman. They didn't set up an audience for Cyborg. They didn't do it for Aquaman. They didn't do it for The Flash. They just had Man of Steel, and then as soon as Batman vs. Superman came along, they just jammed everything in there. They jammed in Doomsday. They jammed in Death of Superman. They jammed in Wonder Woman and all this quick 30 seconds of Aquaman, Cyborg, and Flash. You gotta set up your audience. You gotta do the work. You gotta take the time. You gotta build your audience for these characters. Exactly like Marvel did with the Avengers. You do Iron Man, you do Captain America, you do Thor. Take your time, you build your audience, you build a good foundation for these characters, and then you do Justice League. Okay? Take the time, take a few years to do it. You don't jam it all in Batman vs. Superman, and look how that turned out.
Yeah.
Okay, it made money, but it had definite issues.
Well, obviously, too many story arcs in one movie is not a good idea.
No, not at all. And look, they took the biggest Superman story of all time, which is Death of Superman, and they jammed it into the last 20 minutes of Batman vs. Superman. Which is, to me, that's just criminal. I mean, how do you take the greatest story of all time, greatest Superman story of all time, and it only warrants 20 minutes of a movie? I mean, come on.
It should have been its own movie.
Oh, it could have been its own trilogy of movies. You have Death of Superman, you have Reign of the Supermen, or where you had the 4 Supermen who came back after his death.
Yeah.
You had Cyborg Superman, the Eradicator, Superboy, and Steel. And then the third movie would have been, his return. So, look, you had a whole trilogy there, and you destroyed that, and you just made it 20 minutes in Batman vs. Superman. So, you know what? But hey, I'm not Warner Brothers. I'm not a studio executive. So they felt that was what was best, and obviously it wasn't. But
no, that's totally the wrong idea. What about for Marvel movies? Because we had mentioned before, you can't have the yellow costume on Hugh Jackman.
Look, Hugh Jackman, I've been a huge fan ever since he first played Wolverine, and it's been 17 years, and you know what? I have no problem saying it. I'm going to cry like a little baby when I'm watching him in Logan, because I'm sad it's his last run. Look, nobody's more of a fan of him in the role than I am, but guys, let's be real. Who the hell wants to see Hugh Jackman in yellow spandex? You don't put this dude in yellow spandex unless I don't know, you're making a movie about the Pride Parade or something like that.
The Pride Parade.
I mean, look, I'm not trying to be. I got no problem with anybody like that.
I know.
I'm just. I'm just trying to be real here. You're not going to see Wolverine in yellow spandex.
And no, you're not going to see Thor in his helmet.
Yeah, the helmet thing too. I mean, okay, you had in history, you have war helmets and stuff like that, right? But I mean, in Thor, back in 2011, I think was when it came out. He had it on for a few minutes, and that was his. It was more of a ceremonial type thing.
Same thing with like Loki's helmets with the two horns. Like you can't
Yeah.
actually expect someone to fight in that.
I mean, yeah, he was fighting in it, but it looked really weird. It looked awkward. It looked like that thing was like 50 pounds on his head. And like, you can't really move around and do that shit, right?
Yeah.
It's hard to fight with that thing on. And, I mean, Thor's not your average human. He's got some invulnerability. He's not wearing a helmet. There's no point. I mean, you could say, yeah, the armor he wears too. It's only because of a comic accurate look. But it's not something he has to wear. He's got some invulnerability. He's tougher than your average guy.
I don't remember ever in the comics her being in a world war.
Yeah, but I think that they set that up because in Batman vs Superman, they said, or she said, he's got a picture that belongs to me, and it's a picture of her in World War One, I think.
Which doesn't make sense because she's not immortal. Like being in Amazon doesn't make you immortal.
No, I guess it's the same idea as Wolverine, right? They age very slowly.
But that's in his blood because of his
Yeah.
mutant DNA.
Yeah.
He's not a mutant though. And this is a different
No.
universe completely.
Oh yeah, it is. But the idea is her secret's getting out, I guess you could say, because she wanted to keep it a secret. She said he's got a photo of me, but the photo's from like 100 years ago, and she looks the same, right? So I guess she's trying to keep that a secret, and but eventually it gets out. Like with the emergence of Superman, I guess DC's building that world where they're showing these metahumans, right? The world's being introduced to these people with powers and aliens and so forth. So they set up that world and they put like the seeds of Wonder Woman in Batman vs Superman. So there was a picture of her in World War One. So that's what Wonder Woman's going to be about. It's about her introduction to mankind in World War One, which is a very terrible introduction.
Right.
Anyway, but Wonder Woman's introduction to mankind is in World War One. It's the worst time for her to be introduced into the world of man, because all she's going to see is blood and war and death, and she's going to look around and she's going to say, like, why the hell did I ever leave home? Why did I leave Themyscira, her island? So, and she said it in Batman vs Superman. She said 100 years ago I walked away from mankind because all she saw was war. She saw the worst time, or one of the worst periods in mankind's history.
So it just set the mindset for her life then.
I think, and it set up this negative image of mankind. So, and it took I guess Bruce Wayne's I don't know how to kind of persuasion to come back and fight for mankind again. So I don't know. We'll see when Wonder Woman comes out, if what happens with that. I think she's a great. She's a good pick for Wonder Woman. A lot of issues have been with her acting abilities, and or a lot of people are mentioning she's not a great actress, or she's not built enough. Look, she's a beautiful woman. Wonder Woman's supposed to be smoking hot, which she is, and people are saying, oh, but she's not big enough. She needs to be more muscular. You don't want this chick with bigger shoulders than you and like biceps the size of your head with a six-pack, and she looks like she can just destroy you. I mean, yeah, Wonder Woman can pound you into the ground, but no, she's got to be attractive, right? Because that's the whole thing. She represents beauty. She represents grace. I mean, you don't get that from like a female bodybuilder, I mean, you get the strength across, sure, but she's got to look feminine. She's got to look attractive, right?
I want to know if does she stand out as an American figure?
She's not American. She's Israeli.
No, just because her whole representative is she's a strong symbolism for woman.
But you got to remember too, in the comics, she's not American. She's an Amazon.
Did they ever explain then the palette on her outfit then, or just?
I don't know where it came from, where that color scheme came from, but.
Because I just remember last year, this little girl got sent home because she had Wonder Woman in her lunchbox. Because the character represents violence, apparently.
Well, you know what? these people who sent this little girl home, pull your head out of your ass, because Wonder Woman is one of the biggest symbols of female empowerment ever. Okay, it's a fictional character, but she represents female empowerment. So pull your head out of your ass. Even though it's a fictional character, it's a positive image for women and for young women. Okay, and so this political correctness, she represents violence. Well, you know what? Look at all this violence against women. Okay, you want women to be empowered. So look, if they're looking up to Wonder Woman, hey, there are worse role models. Okay, so
let's not name a few because we know who they are.
Oh, okay. Let's making changes. Like people, you say making changes to movies. Look, you know changes are necessary for movies now, because a lot of these characters came out, you know, in the 40s and 50s and 60s. You gotta have changes. Like we said, you can't have Hugh Jackman in yellow spandex. Look at Power Rangers coming out. People are crapping on the design. I like the design. I think it's pretty good. And it's got to look cool. It's got to look modern. It's got to look have an alien kind of look to it, because that's where the whole thing is coming from, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, changes are necessary. People who take it way too literally. I mean, you're not going to have. Look, we had a quick Michael Bay reference. You can't have Optimus Prime look like he's just a couple of rectangular pieces. I mean, nobody's going to want to see like he looks like he's made of Lego. Nobody wants to see that. You got to have changes. You got to change it up a bit, right?
So like the ending to this is just you need to have changes.
Absolutely. You have to modernize things. You have to make them look cool. Otherwise, you know, nobody's going to want to see it. Go to the movies and see this stuff, right?
Right.
But we'll talk some more.
All right. Well, thank you guys for watching. If you like the video, leave a comment below. We'll see you next time.